Hi everyone, today we'll be looking at solving systems of equations for word problems. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through these first 5 problems, and then the second page will be the try on your owns. Alright, so let's take a look at number 1. An exam that's, well actually before I even read it, the first thing you should do is read through the whole problem. Then go back and look at what the actual questions are. We're going to use those to identify what our variables should represent. Then we'll go back and reread the rest of the question to write our 2 equations. So number 1, an exam worth 145 points contains 50 questions. Some of the questions are worth 2 points and some are worth 5 points. How many 2-point questions are on the test? How many 5-point questions are on the test? So we're going to start with the questions. How many 2-point questions and how many 5-point questions are on the test? So these are our 2 unknowns. So when we have 2 unknowns, we need to use those to figure out what our variables are representing. Okay, so 2 unknowns means we're going to have 2 different variables. So let's start with the first one. How many 2-point questions are on the test? So we're going to pick one variable to represent the number of 2-point questions. So I'm just going to use x. So I'm going to let x represent the number of 2-point questions. Remember, we've done this before. This is where we define our variables. Then I'm going to let y represent the number of 5-point questions. All right, now we can go back and we can use the rest of this to help us come up with our equations. We're going to have to do some translating. All right, so an exam that's worth 145 points contains 50 questions. Some of the points are worth 2 points and some are worth 5 points. All right, so we're going to start with this one here. An exam is worth 145 points. Okay, so how are we going to get to those points? All right, well, we're going to, we'll come to that. And then we have another one that contains 50 questions. All right, I'm going to start with the 50 questions because that one might actually be easier to deal with. So how am I going to get to a total of 50 questions? Remember, x represents the number of 2-point questions, and y is going to represent the number of 5-point questions. So to get to 50 questions, I have to add the number of 2-point questions to the number of 5-point questions. Right, so my number of questions is going to come from just taking my x plus y, adding them together, and that should come out to 50. All right, now let's come up with this next point. I need my exam to come out to be 145 points. Well, there are a certain number of questions that are each worth 2 points, and then there's a certain number of questions that are each worth 5 points. Well, I can represent, since x is the number of questions, I can represent the total points that I would gather from 2-point questions by doing 2 times x. And then the total points I'll get from 5-point questions, I would do 5 times the number of 5-point questions. So that equation would look like this. I've got 2x plus 5y equals 145. All right, now that I've got this, we notice that they are both in standard form. That means I can use elimination. The majority of these problems will come out as standard form. Okay? So the majority of the time we can use elimination to solve. So this first one, if I want to eliminate one of the variables, right, I need to try and figure out how to come up with the additive inverse of one of them. So I chose to get rid of the y's first. So I'm going to multiply my bottom equation by -5. So this part should not be new. The newest part is just writing out our systems. Okay? Writing out those systems of equations. All right, so now from here, let's go through, and this process we've already learned how to do. So I'm going to take that -5 and distribute it. Okay? And then I'm going to take this equation and I'm just going to bring it straight over. Now I can go ahead and eliminate. So my y's are going to eliminate. and we're left with negative 3x equals negative 105. Now I can divide both sides by negative 3, and we get that x equals 35. That means that there were a total of 35 two-point questions. All right, well, now that we know that, now we can take that, substitute it back into one of these two original equations. I'm just going to use the second one because it's easier. It's shorter. So we take that second equation. My x value is 35. Now I can go ahead and solve for y. My 35s cancel out. And we're left with y equals 15. So my final answers, there are 35 two-point questions and 15 five-point questions. And that's what we're trying to get to here. All right. So now let's go ahead and do number 2. So same thing. We start by reading the whole problem. Then we go back and we read the question to help us identify or define our variables. Then we go back and we read so we can set up our equations. Paul and Mofor are selling cheesecakes for a school fundraiser. Customers can buy pecan cheesecakes and strawberry cheesecakes. Paul sold 4 pecan cheesecakes and 5 strawberry cheesecakes for a total of $115. Mofor sold 13 pecan cheesecakes and 3 strawberry cheesecakes for a total of $122. What is the cost of 1 pecan cheesecake and 1 strawberry cheesecake? All right, so this part right here, what is that cost? That's where we're going to pull our variables. This is our unknown. Okay, so this part here is our unknown. So we don't know the cost of 1 pecan cheesecake, and we don't know the cost of 1 strawberry cheesecake. So when we define our variables, I'm going to let x represent the cost of a pecan cheesecake, and I'm going to let y represent the cost of a strawberry cheesecake. Right? Make sure you're very specific to the cost of. Right? It's not the number of, it's the cost of. So we have to be specific in identifying what this is. Don't just say let x represent pecan cheesecakes. Right? Because it doesn't represent the pecan cheesecakes, it represents the cost of. All right, now let's come up here, and what we see is we see 2 different people. So in this case, our equations are going to be broken down by people. So let's start with Paul. All right, Paul sold 4 pecan cheesecakes and 4 strawberry cheesecakes for a total of $115. All right, so let's translate that. Paul sold 4 pecan cheesecakes plus 5 pecan cheesecakes for a total of $115. So 4 times the cost of a pecan cheesecake plus 5 times the cost of a strawberry cheesecake will give us $115. Mofor sold 13 pecan cheesecakes and 3 strawberry cheesecakes for a total of $122. Okay. So, whoops, I didn't want that just yet. So Mofor sold 13 cheesecakes, so 13 times the cost of pecan plus 3 times the cost of strawberry will mean that he sold a total of $122 worth of cheesecakes. All right, so now we need to solve. At this point, I'm not actually going to solve. All right? So to keep your notes short, all we're going to do is set up, and that's it. Leave it at that. Okay? We're just going to set up and leave it at that. I'm going to cut this part out right now. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Cut this out. Okay, so we're just going to set up for the purpose of the rest of these problems. Because at this point, we've already learned how to solve. All right, so number 3. The school that Shauna goes to is selling tickets to a play. On the first day of ticket sales, the school sold 7 adult tickets and 12 student tickets for a total of $88. The school took in $76 on the second day by selling 14 adult tickets and 4 student tickets. What is the price each of 1 adult ticket and 1 student ticket? So let's start with the question so that we can identify or define our variables. Now I keep using X and Y, but it really does not matter which ones you use. So what is the price each of 1 adult ticket and 1 student ticket? All right, well, let's talk about the adult tickets first. I'm going to let X represent the cost of one adult ticket because they want to know what is the price. So that's your cost. I'm going to let Y represent the cost of one student ticket. All right, now we can go back up and we can look to see how they split this up. So they split this up by days. On the first day and then on the second day. So let's look at the first day. Okay? On the first day of ticket sales, the school sold 7 adult tickets and 12 student tickets for a total of $88. So let's go ahead and translate that. So on the first day, they sold 7 adult tickets and 12 student tickets for a total of $88. On the second day, the school took in $76. So we're going to equal, that's your total, by selling 14 adult and 4 student tickets. So on the second day, 14 adult tickets plus 4 student tickets is going to give us the $76. Again, we can solve this by elimination. At this point, I'm just setting them up. On test day, you would have to go back and solve, depending on the question. Number 4. This one is a little different. So this one we have to really think about what some of these mean. All right, so the difference of 2 numbers is 3. Their sum is 23. What are the numbers? All right, well, we have 2 different numbers. So when we define, we're going to let X represent the first number and Y represent the second number. So the difference of these 2 numbers is 3. Well, difference means we're going to subtract. X minus Y is 3. Their sum is 23. Okay? So sum means we're going to add those 2 numbers. There we go. Now we have our system. Okay? All right, and then let's look at number 5. The Lakers scored a total of 80 points in a basketball game against the Bulls. The Lakers made a total of 37 2-point and 3-point baskets. How many 2-point shots did the Lakers make? How many 3-point shots did the Lakers make? So again, let's start with our question. We have 2 questions. How many 2-point shots did the Lakers make? And how many 3-shot points did the Lakers make? So I'm going to let X represent the number of 2-point baskets. And I'm going to let Y represent the number of 3-point baskets that were made. All right, so now the Lakers scored a total of 80 points in a basketball game against the Bulls. The Lakers made a total of 37 2-point and 3-point baskets. So this time they split up, instead of by days or by people, it's set up by categories. 80 points and total number of baskets. Okay, so total points, total baskets. So when we do this, let's start with the total number of points. All right, so to get to the, they scored a total of 80 points in a basketball game against the Bulls. All right, and then the Lakers made a total of 37 2-point and 3-point baskets. All right, so let's do the total number of points. All right, so to get to that 80 points, we have to take the number of 2-point baskets they made, X, and multiply that by 2, because they're each worth 2 points. And then we have to take the number of 3-point baskets that they made and multiply that by 3, because they're worth 3 points. So that's how we can get up to that total of 80 points. All right, now, when we do this next one, all right, the total just number of baskets. So the Lakers made a total of 37 baskets. Well, X, remember, just represents the number of baskets, and Y is the number of baskets. So we're taking those and just adding them together. X plus Y equals 37. All right, so that's your setup. I did not go ahead and solve them because we've already learned how to solve. So the key here was really just, can you set them up? Right, that's the big piece. So your homework tonight is to come over here and do these 5 problems. I want you to set them up as a must. And then go ahead and try and solve them if you remember how. All right, and this is the end of your video notes. I'll see you in class next time.